Welcome to the Tudor Dixon Podcast. I'm sure you have all seen what's going on with the Russia investigation. And now Donald Trump has come out and said that essentially he's accusing Obama of treason. So we figured we would go to the man with all of the history, all of the research, and that is Lee Smith. He is a longtime journalist and New York Times bestselling author with over 30 years of experience working in the media business. So, Mr. Smith, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Tudor, for inviting me on today. It's a pleasure to be with you and your great audience.
Absolutely. So you've been following the Russia hoax for a very long time. You've written numerous books. The plot against the president is one of them. So what is your take on what's happening today?
Well, I think it's terrific. It's very exciting because the documents that are coming out are shedding more light on the different things that we've been talking about for some time now. But again, finding the documents and being able to really focus people's attention on stuff that's come out from the government of the United States, because it's one thing for a reporter to, I've written 3 books on this now. But it's one thing for a reporter to write about, and it's another thing for people to see, the director of national intelligence saying, yes, this is exactly what happened. And, I try to encourage people to be optimistic. I know that there's some skepticism that anything will really happen because we've been waiting for justice for quite some time. But I'm certainly optimistic, guarded, but optimistic nonetheless.
Well, I think that's what a lot of certainly Republicans want. We feel like what happened to him was I feel like he lost the majority of his first term because of this.
Yes.
And we were told the whole time we were silly for thinking that.
Yeah. Well, no, the Mueller investigation took up nearly 2 years of his term. The Republicans lost the midterms, the 2018 midterms, in part because of the Russia investigation, because of all the noise about Russia. I believe there's been polling on that to show that is the case. So, yes, of course, but so it's certainly justice for the president as well as the president's family. If you look at the different things they were put through, and it's also justice for the different Trump aides, from Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Michael Caputo, a whole bunch of different people, but also certainly for the people that voted for the president in that first term, when they voted for his policies, to see his policies implemented. And the entire play, the purpose of Russiagate, was to obstruct President Trump from implementing his agenda. So we're talking about justice here, not just for the president, not just his administration, but for the American public as a whole. Even people who didn't vote for Donald Trump should certainly want our constitutional republic to work in such a way so that when people vote for something, they actually get a chance to see that happen, not that it's obstructed and blocked by intelligence services and law enforcement authorities. So yes, again, this is why we want justice. And again, there's reason to be optimistic that we will get justice at last.
So the narrative started before the election, and I think that the Democrats have always felt that they controlled the media. Even when you look back at the visuals, right? Well, exactly. And I think that by doing that, they've believed that by controlling the media, they controlled the American people's minds. And historically, I think that was correct. But I think 2016 was that moment where they went, oh my, you could see it in their faces on election night. You could see them going, how did this happen? We told them to vote for Hillary. And they started this narrative before the election, obviously, that Donald Trump was the Russian agent, and it didn't work out for them. How panicked did they become when they went, oh my gosh, he's actually going to be president. He's actually going to have access. How much did they ramp it up at that point?
Well, what happened, I think it's important to break Russiagate down into 2 different parts. The first part is the pre-election part, where, as you say, this is the Hillary Clinton campaign funneling the Russia garbage into the media. And we see different eruptions of this in every possible liberal publication that still exists. But they did something very bad pre-election, and that was that the FBI used this nonsense as the predicate for a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. That was a very, very bad thing. That was unlawful. after the election, it turns into something else. That's when, and this is what Donald Trump is referring to, this is what others are referring to, and this is what these documents are about. They're about the post-election aspect of Russiagate, when Barack Obama took control. And that's what these documents that DNI Tulsi Gabbard showed and has been talking about. That's what this represents, the post-election aspect of Russiagate. And it's obvious, it's very much the case that Barack Obama did take control, that Barack Obama went to his intelligence community leaders, John Brennan in particular, and said, here's what I want. I want Trump smeared as a Russian agent, and I want this done, and I want it on my desk before I leave office January 20th. And that's precisely what happened. Again, these were different things that we knew and understood. I mean, it's starting right at the beginning. We knew that Barack Obama was doing this. Everything that he was doing after the election regarding Trump was purpose to delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency. Right. But now, again, these documents shed more light on this. So it's not just journalist Lee Smith talking about this. There are actual, again, official government records showing what happened.
Is treason too strong of a word?
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and frankly, I mean, I think that's. I really can't say. I think that we throw around the word like treason an awful lot. I mean, I don't know. There were laws broken here. That I do know, and I can point to different places where we can see evidence of that. I'm not sure, and again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm saying I'm not sure that if in the documents that DNI declassified, if there's evidence of criminal activity with what Barack Obama did. What there is evidence of, and this is very important, is that Barack Obama took control of Russiagate. That we know. Was that in itself illegal? Was that in itself criminal? I don't know. There are different things, though, that CIA Director John Brennan did that I can point to that are definitely look to be illegal. And remember what's going on here while this is happening, while some of these documents are being declassified and being released, we're seeing very solid reporting by John Solomon, among others, saying that the FBI and DOJ have opened up a very large criminal conspiracy case regarding the weaponization of the federal government, and this conspiracy goes from 2016 to 2024. So that's one reason, again, why people should be optimistic insofar as we've been concerned about statute of limitations going from 2016 to 2024. That's a long period of time, and it means that we're safely that the statute of limitations have not expired. So obviously DOJ is finding criminal activity there. Remember, the new CIA director, John Ratcliffe, referred John Brennan to a criminal investigation to FBI Director Kash Patel. So again, there's plenty of evidence of crimes, whether what the 44th American president did. Whether there's evidence of that or not, we'll see.
You say that you have evidence against John Brennan, but there's got to be someone.
What it's clear what happened. I mean, with these reports about the intelligence community assessment, which is what Obama ordered Brennan to finish. I mean, this is one of the things. That these documents are about. And also, I should add that in 2019, Devin Nunes, when he was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, he made 8 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. His lead investigator at the time was Kash Patel, who's now the director of the FBI. One of these referrals was about tampering with intelligence, right? And that appears to refer to the intelligence community assessment, what Barack Obama ordered John Brennan to have done by the time he left office. So if then Chairman Nunes and his lead investigator, Kash Patel, found criminal activity there, then that's certainly something they'll be looking at now. And again, remember what Kash Patel is doing now. He's the FBI director. So I imagine that's one of the things they'll be looking at closely.
So he has all the information. He's been working on this for years. This is not something he needs to catch up on. I think that's something important for the American people to understand. Yes. He's walking in with a wealth of knowledge on this already. And I think that when you hear in the mainstream media, they're like, oh, this is a distraction. This is crazy. This is insane. But they really did fight to make sure that they were going to win the 2024 election. I mean, when you look at all of the lawfare and everything they did to Trump, they wanted to make sure Trump was not getting back into office. I think they wanted to make sure any Republican, but specifically Trump.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have to look at everything that happened starting in 2023 regarding Donald Trump in 2023. Let's start with 2020. Let's start with 2020, the 2020 election. And, we'll leave aside right now the question of the probity of that election, but certainly everything that happened. I mean, Trump was banned from social media. They raided his home at Mar-a-Lago, an enormous campaign of lawfare designed to, impoverish and imprison him. And he got through all of these things, and he survived. He survived getting shot in the head. Right. So no one, the Democrats certainly did not expect that Donald Trump was going to be president again in 2024. And, remember, they've done their very best to block not just that anyone would be held accountable for this, but that anyone would ever know anything about this. Right. Look at all the people that they attacked during Trump's first term. Look at the different hurdles they set up for President Trump. So we're looking at something very different now in 2024. President Trump has the right people in place. While we're demanding accountability, there are the right people in place to see that happens. So, no, they didn't expect that they would ever have to pay a price for this. And now it appears that that may happen.
But when you look back at it like that, I mean, that is severe desperation. All of the things, sometimes you forget, but when you lay it all out, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, the attack against the president, the multiple assassination attempts, the lawfare, all of it is pretty disgusting. There has to be some level that Obama knew that he was going to be in big trouble if this was found out. And I do think that there's a challenge in ever going after a president. And there's also a moral question about going after a past president, because then when does it end? And I think that's my concern. That's a lot of people's concern, that if you do that, you never get away from doing that. But I just want to go back to when President Trump was going through this. A lot of people around him were accused of crimes, sent to prison, had to pay their life savings to try to get out of this with court cases. If you look back and you say this was all manufactured, don't some of those people have to go to jail?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, and those are the people that I think that are, you're talking about the different intelligence officials like Brennan and Comey and some of the top FBI people who are involved. Yes, certainly. Right. I mean, so, Barack Obama is the former president of the United States. I tend to find it unlikely, though. Again, I've been writing for many years about how Barack Obama clearly, or obviously, was the head of this operation, as well as many others. I mean, we have to remember Barack Obama is popping his head up all the time with everything. He popped his head up with COVID, right? He's encouraging U.S. mayors to keep their cities closed, the purpose of which was to destroy Trump's economy. Then he's out there shilling for all of the different new election processes, which were designed to facilitate voter fraud, which is what we saw in 2020. So Barack Obama is all over this from 2016, at least through 2020. Again, but the idea that Barack Obama is going to be charged, I don't know, but certainly, yes, up and down the line, the top FBI officials, because it's mostly the FBI and DOJ, the top officials there, they absolutely have to be held accountable. And I hope that the people you're referring to, people like Michael Flynn, like Roger Stone, Michael Caputo, I hope all of these people bring enormous civil suits against the Department of Justice, against the FBI, and against the individuals responsible for this. I think that this is, it's part of our legal system. These people were wronged. Some of them were bankrupted. Some of them were deeply hurt. I mean, what they did to Roger Stone, I mean, they sent a SWAT team at his house.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you bring these things up, you forget about them. His wife is an older woman, and there she is with a SWAT team around her bed.
Yeah, these are, I mean, very sick people who did this. And of course, we have to keep in mind, we have to remember the media that was a part of this. And in that particular case, it was CNN. So these are very sick and disgusting people, and they need to be held accountable as well.
And you say that the media, they were there. I mean, I want to point that out. You're talking about CNN. They were somehow outside. So this was clearly coordinated.
Well, this is something that I think is very important to understand. A lot of conservatives, Republicans, even Trump supporters, I don't think they've really dealt with a full scope of what the media is at this point. There are a lot of people, and there still are. You can turn on different, conservative networks or read different conservative writers and talk about the biased media, the liberal media, the left media. It's like, okay. I mean, you're talking about, that's what we saw in the 70s and 80s and the 60s, whatever. We're seeing something very different now. What happened during Russiagate was the media collapsed. The media was part of an intelligence operation targeting the president of the United States. It's not that they're biased, right? They were part of an intelligence operation. So let's call it for exactly what happened, right? And that's why CNN was on the spot, right? It wasn't a tip. That some savvy reporter won somehow. Right. They were part of the operation. And that's what we saw all throughout Russiagate. So while we're talking about holding political figures like Barack Obama and intelligence officials like John Brennan accountable, the media must also, the people who are playing the role of the media must also be held accountable, right? I don't, and that starts at the very least with recognizing who they are. Right, this is not the media that we may remember from our earlier years. They were the platform for an intelligence operation.
And I think that is something that the American people have historically trusted the media, but we've recently seen. I mean, even watching Stephen Colbert get canceled and have these indignant reporters come out and say, how can this be? Is there a political reason behind this? Because it's almost like they have been a part of this club and they're like, somebody doesn't get kicked out of the club. And we are seeing it totally differently than what it potentially actually is with the intelligence agency working with them.
How anyone could defend Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart, two of the unfunniest people, I mean, two of the squarest people in the world. Can you imagine how square you have to be to watch Stephen Colbert? I mean, give me a break. I mean, play a game of solitaire. Play a game of solitaire. That's hipper than watching Stephen Colbert. Oh, I watched Stephen Colbert. Wow, what a cool daddy-o you must be. That's really funny, Stephen Colbert. Oh, Jon Stewart. I mean, what a bunch of it's just disgusting. So for me, that doesn't even have anything to do with media or the intelligence operations they've been running. It's like, where do you get off watching Stephen Colbert? Please.
But that is that is the American public that you're fighting against. The people who are desperately seeking.
I don't think that's the American public. I think that's a bunch of square balls in New York and LA and elsewhere who think that somehow that marks the zenith of American culture and comedy. I mean, for Pete's sake,
Yes, I agree. So I will just end on this. I want to ask you one more thing. You talked about civil suits. We've said Barack Obama is potentially protected as a past president from any criminal liability. I think that's going to be hard to pin on him because I do think that he'll come up with executive privilege and all of that. But he has become extraordinarily wealthy since he was president. You talked about many people in the Trump administration that it cost them a lot of money. Is there a potential civil suit or multiple civil suits against the Obamas?
I don't know. That's very interesting, but I mean, again, I don't want to hit on this too much, but again, it just sort of brings in this melding of entertainment and media and news and stuff like that. And it's just like, I mean, for Pete's sake, again, like Obama with a Netflix contract. I mean, it's just awful. It's just awful again, on one hand, we have the media that's become part of this intelligence operation. On the other hand, the entertainment media, I mean, just pathetic and sick, unfunny and dumb. So who's so dumb that they give a Netflix contract to Barack Obama? Again, one of the squarest guys that America's ever produced. And you think that guy's going to put out good movies?
There's a lot of power in that kind of stuff, though. There's a lot of power to manipulate minds and change people.
And it's a power because the people who are watching that and the people who like it are dumb and square. That's why, right? Same with Stephen Colbert.
Can vote.
I mean, look, at some point we're going to have a little better sense of how much money all these things made. And we look at the Stephen Colbert numbers, and guess what? As it turns out, he didn't make money at all, right? He's not just unfunny, big loser, right?
Right.
So,
and that's where we get to people don't have civics lessons. They don't have economics lessons. They don't understand capitalism. There are some things that trump politics, and that's if a network can't make money, they're going to get rid of someone.
Look, I mean, another thing is that Donald Trump is funnier than Colbert and Jon Stewart and all of these guys. I mean, Donald Trump, of course, though he belongs to a different age. I mean, we're talking more like the Dean Martin roast or something like that. Now that was funny television, not Colbert and Jon Stewart. Anyway, look, I mean, yes, Barack Obama has a lot of money. If the Americans who were wronged by this operation that Obama clearly led, if they can get some money from Barack Obama, that would be fantastic. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I just don't know. I don't know how that would happen. I sure hope it does, though.
No, I think that should be when you hit people in the pocketbook, then they start paying attention and they stop doing what they're doing. And they're less likely to do that. I mean, even the Bidens, I see he's getting a $10 million advance on his book. And you know what? That means his estate, when he's gone in a few years, will have a lot of money in it. Before I let you go, you have a new book. It's called Disappearing the President. Where can people get it?
Well, the Encounter Books, I believe that right now they have a 25% discount sale. So I can't. I'm afraid that I can't remember exactly what the code is, but if you go to encounterbooks.com, you can find it there. I'm also posting it on my Twitter feed, at Lee Smith DC, and then my Truth Social feed at Lee Smith. But of course, you can also find all of my books at places like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I even know that some Barnes and Noble, some brick and mortar Barnes and Noble stores are selling Disappearing the President.
Good. Well, this is the time to make sure you know the whole story so that you can be intelligent as you're listening to all these people on these crazy networks try to manipulate you.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Lee Smith. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for bringing me on to it. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining the podcast. Make sure you go to iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch the full video on Rumble at Tudor Dixon. Have a blessed day.